Yo, what's up, everybody? It is Dives, Mr. Crockpot on Twitter. Welcome to TPL Live. Today is the first edition of our 2020 Sixers player previews, and today we are talking about my man Furkan Korkmaz. Make sure, if you're here watching us live, make sure you comment, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe to the Painted Lines YouTube channel. Check us out over at thepaintedlines.com. Joining us today is my man Jason. You know him on Twitter at JBlevins NBA. How you doing, Jason?
I'm great. We have to respect our 12% of our viewers from Turkey. So it was very important that we start with Furkan, one of our favorite guys in the locker room. And it was even more important that we have Serge on with us tonight, who, that's your guy, right? You cover all the Turkish players for Trend Basket.
Yep, we also have my man Serge. Follow him on Twitter at Serge Kumas. What's up, Serge?
Not much, man. Just excited to be here and can't wait to get into it.
Oh, man, it's amazing. We already got some comments here, which is fantastic. Keep the comments flowing, guys. Direct us. Talk all the trash. It's all just for fun. We have Justin Persecity saying we will be reviewing everybody. I think Ben Simmons is next. I think that'll be going down Tuesday or something like that. And I think Shake is going to be as well for next week. So we will be doing individual player preview pods right up until the Sixers start, which I guess is the 22nd. Big Shane Gillis, my man Shane.
Yeah.
He's the man. Some of the funniest comments comes from this guy.
I am convinced. Shane, I am convinced you're really Joel Embiid's burner, by the way. Every one of your comments, I'm like, yeah, that's something Joel would say.
Hacking Beast 07 says people sleeping on him gonna prove everybody wrong as always. We're gonna get into that because that's what he absolutely did last season. What does that say? Nadir is joining. Sarah, what's going on here?
Sad again, Eson. He's just saying that, put some respect on his name. Make sure you say good things about him and make sure that
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then we have Samuel joining, major commenter over at the YouTube channel. Thank you. Says peace, respect the shooters. Absolutely. And that is what we're going to be talking about today. Today, we are going to kind of break down and grade his 2019-2020 season. And then we're going to kind of discuss what are the areas Furkan Korkmaz needs to improve upon. And then we're going to do a 2020 season outlook, our expectations moving forward. Let's start off with season. Let me hide this real quick. 2019 season review and my grade. By far, one of the most surprising players on the Sixers, Furkan Korkmaz, was shockingly one of the few bright spots on an otherwise super disappointing, super roller coaster season for the Sixers last year. Before we go forward, though, it's really important to recognize what all went down the previous offseason prior to this past year. Expectations and a clear role for Furkan were basically zero. I don't know about you guys, Serge.Maybe you can correct me.
Let me tell a story. I've told this story before, but in the 2019 playoff series versus Toronto, Furkan's third-year option had been declined from the Sixers. It was before game one. We were in the locker room, and I was talking to him. We didn't even talk about the game. We talked about the upcoming FIBA Euro Cup, right? Is that what it was called?
World Cup.
World Cup. Because he didn't think he was going to play in that series. He and I had been talking throughout the season. We thought his time in Philadelphia had come to an end. So we just talked about World Cup. That night he played 20 minutes, I think. And next thing you know, early July, he was re-signed for a 2-year deal. He's back in Philadelphia. So, it really was an unlikely reunion. And I think he made the most of that opportunity last year.
Dude, it was a magical season for Furkan. At the start, we saw Brett Brown give Furkan the team label of Bama, but we're going to have to grow a Bama. And it was shocking, like, at least for me, to see Brett draw plays for this guys. And I fully admit, I was not a Furkan Korkmaz guy coming into last year. But boy, did this guy make me look silly from the jump. You saw him hit a game-winning 3 against the Portland Trailblazers last season. One of the best moments by far. He scored 34 against the Grizz. Then he scored 31 the next day. And before we throw it to Serge, I want to, one of my favorite moments of Furkan Korkmaz in 2019 was I made a highlight reel of Furkan Korkmaz pre-All-Star highlight reel, and it blew up. I get these messages, notifications on my phone, and it was right before the All-Star break. I put out the video, and it went over 100,000 views. So it was just absolutely exploded. It was just one of my favorite moments. Serge, by the way, I would give him a B. I would give Furkan Korkmaz a B. I'm not going to kill him for his lack of production in the playoffs because I had no expectations for this guy anyway. He was always going to be a liability, especially against the Celtics this past playoffs. I go a solid B, given how the Sixers were last year, man. It's kind of crazy to think where they would be, at least shooting-wise, without Furkan Korkmaz. You're up, Serge.
Yeah, Chris, like you said, he had 34 points. In the next game, he had 31 points against Chicago, 65 points in 2-game stretch. And so going into the 19-20 season, you're not really expecting that from Furkan, but the way he was able to kind of create space, drive in the lane, go hard and just dunk it at times against Chicago and Memphis in that 2-game stretch was amazing. Just a really, really great overall season for Furkan. Improvements, of course, in terms of strength and defense. He is a European player, and that is a stigma for European players coming into the NBA. The bottom line is who can they guard? I think he's done slight improvements, but I think he still has ways to go. But for right now, for the 19-20 season, I'll definitely give him a B+. So okay. The same grade basically as you, just a plus right next to it. Definitely has improvements to make, but he's definitely come a long way.
All right, what about you, Jason? How would you grade Furkan last season?
I think a B is probably fair. Early in training camp, and Serge was there in Camden, we saw certain drills that Furk was working on, specifically dealing with taking contact, running off screens. So the assistant coaches would sort of bump him as he would run off screens. Because strength obviously is the number one sort of area for growth for him offensively, and then lateral quickness obviously is his challenge defensively. But I think as his strength grew, as his conditioning grew, you started to see that advanced sort of 8-year pro that he is. We think he's only a 23-year-old player, but he's been a professional player for quite some time, and you see that his brain works really fast. It works at a veteran level. He's just got to physically be able to keep up to make those feet match his brain. And I think you saw progression. So to me, it was a pretty solid B. He didn't pop into a star, but guy shot 40.2% from 3. What else are you asking for?
Exactly. And a quick nod to that crossover dunk against the Chicago Bulls back in January. Man, I remember watching the game, and I just that was one of the quickest jump out of my couch moments of the year. That was excellent. It came out of nowhere. It was just the flex, the Furkan flex after that was super, super memorable. And I remember Twitter just exploding after that play. Let's go to some comments. We have Nadir saying 6th best scorer on the team, and people doesn't mention Furkan's name. Throw some respect to Furkan Korkmaz. Let's go. He gave you 143s for 1.6 million. That is great comment. That is a great comment. John says, thanks for joining, John. The Grizzlies game was so fun. Missed the live events. Amen, bro. Amen. Korkmaz could be our Lou Williams off the bench in Doc's system. We're going to get into that. We're going to talk about our expectations for 2020. Furk isn't a guy who deserves heavy minutes. You can't play defense. You can't log minutes. We're going to get into that. Let's talk about that's a good segue. Oh, wait. We have a grade here. A B is definitely a good grade. Nowadays, who plays man defense. It's really a handful of guys. I mean, that's pretty fair. All right, let's go into areas you need to improve. You saw the contract. That was a great comment. Luckily, that contract is not terrible, so I don't see Furkan going anywhere. 1.7 million this season. Then he becomes an unrestricted free agent after next year. What does he need to improve on? Furkan just has to do more than just shoot. He's only 23, so there's definitely more room for him to improve. But let's be real here. His defense is horrendous. He doesn't give you anything regarding playmaking, rebounding, steals, assists. He is what he is. And with that, he needs to be more consistent from the perimeter across the board. There were stark contrasts with him playing off the bench, coming in as a starter, and whether he was even playing on the road or playing at home. Furkan Korkmaz shot 33% from deep in the 12 games as a starter. And he shot over 40% from deep in 50 games off the bench. He shot 46% from deep at home compared to 34.6% on the road. So that's a pretty legit summary of how you would kind of summarize the Sixers season last year. So overall, Furkan just needs to become a more complete player and be a more reliable floor spacer, whether he's playing at the center or on the road. Let's go to Jason. What are some areas he needs to improve?
Yeah, I said it before, but I really think it comes down to strength and lateral speed. So those two things, he's got the physical profile. He's 6'7". He's got a good wingspan. His brain works fast. I think he can work while he really is challenged in isolation defense, so he can be hunted. I think he can see plays develop, so he can actually play a little bit of that Thibault sort of bird of prey style in passing lanes. He's just got to be able to get his feet moving quicker. He's got really, really massive feet for a guy, even for a guy at 6'7". Like, he's got really massive feet. So his foot speed is never going to be great off the line. But if he gets stronger, it just means he's going to be able to run through contact and catch and shoot better off the move versus just being a stationary target. So those are the two things I think he needs. He's got a good handle. He's a good decision maker. He sees the floor. I think it's just physical development, and that's weight room work.
Love it. What about you, Serge?
Yeah, like Jason said, it's the lateral quickness. Also, his awareness, I feel like, isn't always on par with what he's doing on a defensive end. And I think one thing that everyone sees all the time is that when he has the man in front, he has a hard time keeping him there. And when they're going towards a basket, he's hitting him on the arm. That's a foul, a potential and one play. So I think when it comes to keeping the player in front, he definitely does struggle. But let's not forget, from 2017 to 2019, he struggled with injuries, in the 17-18 season and the 18-19 season. So for him to go from not playing to be injured to having G League assignments playing for, at the time, which was a Delaware 87ers, playing at UDel, to go from that to where he is now has definitely been a big jump. But if he can play good defense, not great, but good, I think he'd definitely be a six-man off the bench.
Awesome. Copa says, I don't think any team in the NBA will take him. I mean, all right, he made me eat crow big time because I was not high on this guy. I mean, you could say that like this time or a little earlier, like before the season started, I think there was a conversation like, should this guy be on the Sixers, and B, should he not even be in the NBA? That's where the conversation was. But absolutely not. Furkan showed that he deserves. This is an NBA level shooter from the perimeter. So let's move on to 2020 outlook and expectations. I want you to lead off this one, Jason, because you're more in tune with the Sixers team than I have. When you look at the 21.7 minutes per game last year, I cannot see that replicating, especially given the additions of Seth Curry, Danny Green, Tyrese Maxey, and Isaiah Joe. Like, I'm not complaining though, because I think less Furkan is more Furkan. So when we're talking about winning basketball games, Furkan is an amazing story. He went from zero to hero last year with all the floor spacing. Daryl Morey said he's adding to this roster. I just don't see another Cinderella season happening in 2020. Jason, what are your 2020 expectations for this guy?
Here's my prediction. I think just for continuity's sake, he's going to get more playing time early in the season, leading up to the trade deadline. I think that the Sixers would be really wise to front load his minutes in the season for two reasons. One, he's got chemistry developed with Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. They kind of know how he moves on the floor, so it takes time to develop those kind of things with the really precision, like where your passing pockets, where your shooting pockets, with a rookie and Maxey, and with even with Curry and Danny Green, right? It takes time. So he's a security blanket early, and also if he's shooting 42, 44% from three heading into a trade deadline, he now becomes a net plus asset, right? So somebody commented that no team would take him. I think if you walk into February and he's hitting 44% from three, playing 25 minutes a game for this team, he's absolutely a plus, a net plus asset. Because the team's going to want to get him in, see them in their gym, and then decide whether they want to re-sign him in the summer. So I think his minutes are going to be front loaded. Now, after the trade deadline and beyond, this team could look very different. Or Danny Green, Tyrese Maxey, those two could be like really earning sort of that spot, and he'll have to fight for those minutes later in the year. So I think I really want to grade this on a curve and a month by month expectation. I think you're going to see a lot of him early on.
What about you, Serge? How do you see Furkan's performance expectations this season?
Yeah, Chris, I kind of agree with you to an extent where we might not see another Cinderella story like we saw this previous season. And let's not forget that the Sixers also added Ryan Broekhoff a few days ago officially onto their books. So I think that also comes into play when it comes to his minutes as well. Though I do think Furkan does add more to the Sixers' core in terms of his athletic ability. I think he's much more athletic than that of Ryan Broekhoff. But we'll just see what happens, like Jason said, on a month-to-month basis in terms of his minutes and his production for Philly.
Yeah, I love Furkan as much as anybody. Just such a terrific story. But personally, I would like to see the Sixers go another route. I'm not saying like get rid of him. I like his shooting to be at the back end of the bench. They need to find someone who can give you more across the board, and rather than just someone who's hot and cold shooting at that position that he plays. We've heard Daryl Morey talking about getting back to the 2017 Sixers. When you look at that team was third best in defensive efficiency. They were second best in offensive rebounding percentage and ninth best in three-point shooting. They were like in the middle of the pack in most of those stats this past year. When you consider the new additions to the Sixers roster right now, along with Matisse Thybulle hoping to become a more consistent perimeter shooter, Tyrese Maxey being that playmaker, that potential pick and roll ball handler that they so desperately need, Isaiah Joe's ability to add spacing but also give you steals and team defense. I have a tough time seeing Daryl Morey view Furkan Korkmaz as a legit weapon, and I'm talking about as much playing time as he saw this past season. So that's where I'm at. You guys want to do some like stat predictions?
Yeah, sure.
All right, Furkan averaged 9.8 points. He shot 40.2% from three at 21.7 minutes per game. Jason, where do you see that going this coming season?
Well, I think when I went through this, I think that the number that I really care about is efficiency. So 57% true shooting percentage. That's the number you want to see sustain. He was a 38.6, which is atrocious as a rookie. Then bumped to 52.8, which is like putting usage aside, that's like Kemba Walker style, mid-rangey style efficiency. And then go to 57% is really where you'd want to see a guy like this. So that's the number I would look at. I think he will, again, first couple of months, he will probably be in the 11 points per game range. But he could probably finish around the same as last year.
What about you, Serge?
Yeah, in terms of his 3-point shooting percentage, I'm really hoping anything between 38 to 40%. in terms of his stats. But first and foremost, I just really want him to be aggressive. I think me and Jason were talking about last year, the crossover on Cristiano Felicio, the Chicago Bulls, going in and dunking it. In the 18-19 season, he didn't really have that confidence going forward, and we really saw that last year. So apart from stats, I just hope his confidence continues to grow and grow.
We have Samuel saying, Furkan gives us time to develop other players, and you might be 100% correct on that, Jason. Is Tyrese Maxey ready to go? Is Isaiah Joe ready to go?
I think Isaiah Joe has the exact same problem as a rookie Furkan. It's just the NBA level of strength that these players have is totally different from college. And Isaiah Joe is very thin and very light. And he's, when you look at an Isaiah Joe, you should be looking at him to have the development curve that Furkan had. And you want him to develop fast enough to be able to take that role before you have to decide to pay Furkan next summer.
Yeah.
But don't expect Isaiah Joe to take Furkan Korkmaz's minutes this season.
Yeah.
We have Copa saying, I really don't think he'll play with Doc, to be honest. He's too much of a liability on defense. Are we going to see any defense with a shortened off season? To be honest, who knows?
Just to chime in there for a second.
We're all just going to run onto a court, and it's just going to be play ball. So who knows? I think that's it. Does anyone else?
I think Doc wants to outscore you.
What's that?
Doc wants to outscore guys. He's not worried about defense if he can score 140 a night. He's not worried about it.
And just one more thing when it comes to liability. Let's not forget Doc Rivers had JJ Redick as a player, and JJ was a huge defensive liability throughout his whole college and NBA career. So I'm not sure where that's coming from in terms of defense.
All right. Jason, plugs. Anything you want to plug, man?
Go to Dungeons and Dragons podcast tonight, 7 p.m. Tune in.
Let's go. What about you, Serge?
Yeah. Just follow me at Serge Kumas on Twitter. I tweet about Sixers, also about the Philadelphia Union, Turkish national team, the U.S. men's national team, the women's team as well. So have my hands in a bunch of things.
Hey, man. Thank you, all of our Turkish viewers. Honestly, huge for us. We talk about it all the time. We're very thankful to have you.
Oh, man. So the Painted Lions has kind of pivoted towards live streaming during events and during games. So if you're watching this on Sunday, tomorrow night we'll be live streaming during the Eagles versus Seahawks game around 7:45 p.m. East Coast time. And moving forward, so if you love the Sixers, make sure you like and subscribe here because we're going to be live streaming a good chunk of these Sixers games moving forward. It's just really fun. We're really chill, laid back kind of people, and we just have a blast. A lot of drinking, a lot of eating. It's a tons of fun, and really we've been pumping out, I think, a video or two a day at this channel. It's been pretty ridiculous. And I just want to say thank you to everyone here that commented. I want to say thank you to everyone here, our new subscribers. Thank you to all of our Samuel. This guy has been with us for a long time, and I just want to say thank you, Samuel. This guy's a constant commenter on all of our videos.
Hey, Serge, by the way, if we're at the arena for these games and these guys are live streaming, we should do a post-game from the arena, do a post-game stream, join in with them. Right?
Yeah, for sure. I would love that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. All right. So this is TPL Live. Stay up to date here. We're going to be doing our next player profile on Ben Simmons and Shake Milton next week. I'm not sure. I think the Ben Simmons will be Tuesday at 6. I could be wrong. And then Shake will be sometime in the near future. So for Jason, for Serge, for myself, thanks for watching, guys. Stay awesome.